Our next speaker is Dr. Peter Lyckberg from the National Museum of Natural History, and he travels the world basically looking at gem-producing pegmatites, and he's an expert on that. And he's going to be talking to us today on some new recent world-class finds of gems in pegmatites from a number of different localities. So with that, I'll turn the podium over to Peter, and we'll get going.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, and GIA, thank you for the invitation. I will give you a little overview of the last finds. I will start with Ukraine, a little bit of Russia, then Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I can't show you images from mines everywhere, but I'll show you some pictures from underground in Ukraine and from the mountains in Afghanistan, Pakistan. So we will start here in VOLODARSK, Ukraine, then we'll have a quick look at the Ural Mountains and in Transbaikal. So chamber pegmatites of Ukraine, they're 1.7 billion years old. So they're formed within cogenetic with a big granite intrusion. All along the edges of this intrusion, within the granite, you have big bubbles of pegmatite. So it's not so many places in the world where we see those, and this is the most highly developed one. So what happened was when the crystallization, the different sequence in the pegmatite with a pocket in the middle, we had a leaching of the bottom of the pocket where all the quartz was leached and recrystallized. And that was why the Soviets in 1931 started mining those heavily. They mined about 1,900 pegmatites. It's hard to say exactly the exact number because some they defined as one ore body, but it may have consisted of 7 pegmatites. We know definitely in the old literature altogether 1,500, but the ones we've counted is at least 1,900. So what you see here is the quartz core above the chamber, and you can see the giant size of the pockets. The pockets are up to 35 meters. Right now we're investigating one pocket, well, one pegmatite that has 2 giant pockets, and I think they're connected. So we'll see the coming months if that'll be the case. So they mined for piezo quartz. Here is a little buoy next to a giant crystal, and here are some samples I collected this past year. And this is what they look like. Many crystals have fallen down, broken, recrystallized. And it's most famous for the gem crystals, of course. So the topaz to the left and Heliodor to the right. Now, in 2013, 2014, we found several nice pockets, and also 2017, 18. This was 2013. We found this pocket with a 325 kilogram bicolored topaz. And we found for the first time topaz on matrix in this deposit. Here is just to show you it's very difficult, even if you are in a great pocket, to find anything at all. So, sorry, oops, go back. So here are some huge pseudomorph of former topaz that's now sericite. And there were just a small bits of topaz left, but you can see the deep color. And they were in fact bicolored. So here is right in the pocket itself. Now there's some interesting other minerals, so I study all the mineralogy of all deposits. So here is just some black opal, and in fact there's a piece of bicolored topaz in the opal. This is something we're studying right now. In 2013, January, we saw one small pocket that you see here to the left. And there was a shaft hindering us from entering, so we had to fill that shaft. And at the end of 2013, we went in. And now you're up for a test. The first one, maybe at this conference. Now we'll see how you would be acting here. So here you have the pocket. Where are you digging? So I know there are many, very highly qualified people here, even mine owners, many field collectors, many geologists. But it's not that easy. Here is solid rock, here is a pocket. You take everything you can with your loose fingers. Here you can see quartz crystals here. Here's a giant quartz crystal. So you will not start with your chisel and hammer right around here. And it's no use to start maybe in this. So maybe you go here, who knows where you start and what happens. If you did what I just said, you put the chisel here, you would break that topaz. So the big quartz crystal you saw was right in front. This is a 29 kilo, 70 pound, almost 70 pound topaz crystal. That looks like this. So that's the one crystal. Now, always when I travel, I try to teach miners. The geologists are very knowledgeable mines, but you have to teach the miners. I tell them this one has fluid inclusions, gas inclusions, don't expose it to hydrothermal shock. 5 minutes later, one miner puts this in a bucket of water and it shatters, this very crystal. So sometimes you're talking for deaf ears, but after that experience they took a bit more care. So from the same pocket is a big quartz crystal to the left. And here is a cut topaz, cut by Viktor Tuslakov. So you can see, you saw the pieces from the pocket. This is the color, radiation induced, but the color is very, very intense. And I'll show you a few more specimens. Here is the greatest pocket that was discovered in 1982. They took out 1 ton Heliodor at the time in 1992 when Soviet Union had fallen apart. They went in, took another ton and then another few hundred kilo. So you can see this is just a part of this giant pocket that measures 35 meters. And what I also tried to do is, in fact, I shouldn't be in the picture. Somebody moved the image. I had help from one of the staff here. I shouldn't be. Anyway, here are 2 of the miners. I also try to document everything. When there is a chance in history, I document who were the miners. These 2 gentlemen were the guys, 2 of 5, who mined 900 kilo, of which 90% were gem quality Heliodor in 1992. So while I'm doing, my primary interest is genesis, the geology, mineralogy, gemology of the deposit, studying that and documenting while there's time. So for instance, in VOLODARSK, it took me 10 years to even go and see the mine. 1985 till 95, I was making contacts and trying to go there, no way, no way. And since then I've been studying it through 3 directors of the mine, through 3 chief geologists, so you need to keep the contacts alive. It's not the easiest, and then if you study many deposits, it's a lot of work. And for me, that's nighttime, because I have another day job and I'm scientific advisor for the Museum of Natural History in Luxembourg. So this is in fact my private funding for all these projects. But you can see the quality of these Heliodors, just fantastic. What I want to mention is that etching is completely different from each pocket. And here are a few images that are taken during the last year. Big smoky quartz, big barrel. The miners are very happy. And here you see one of the miners who were in the previous photo. And here, what we found here, this was a big open pit that was mined in the 1950s. And it was reworked last autumn, a year ago, until this spring. And what was not known there was that there was beautiful bicolored topaz that's quite unique for Ukraine. We have found some in Finland, but that's minute quantities in comparison. Now look at this piece. It's the size of my hand, about 2 kilos, 4 pounds. Beautiful with fluorite inclusions. So we found a few of those during the past year. Very rare. Now, you don't want to mess with this. He is the chief of security. So I was filming when we found this one late evening, and I couldn't stop from making pictures during the filming because he loves the photo himself. Anyway, here is one topaz cut with, it looks like Christmas tree, the fluorite inclusion, and you can see it's bicolored. It has much stronger color in reality. This is a snapshot I made of it. And here are some Heliodors. And you see the etching. The one to the left has almost no etching, very rare in Ukraine. As I said, each pocket's completely different. That piece was found in 2008 on the dump from the pit you just saw. So the miners went there in the evening and they found it and sold it to the mining company. So they found 2 of them. This specimen had 2 pieces further down that fitted onto this big crystal. The piece to the right, I was in that pocket in 2007, weighs 3.6 kilo. It's hard to see here, but in fact there's a termination, there are faces here, and this is just a piece from a giant crystal that weighed probably about 25 kilo. And this pocket was etched 36 meters, 100 feet under the former pocket bottom, completely etched and leached. It's underwater now. So what's new? This is the newest fantastic pocket. Next to the giant barrel pocket that I showed pictures from before, from 1982-92, there was a topaz pocket that had produced 6 tons of topaz. So of course we've studied the last few years, well, during many years, we've studied all the old ledgers from every pegmatite, what they mined. This pegmatite, no topaz was mentioned. The only thing, we didn't find anything. So what happened was they went into the mine here and it was empty. From drill core, it was clear that above the pegmatite was a 2-meter empty space. We went in here 6 meters down, topaz started to show, and down here was a 230 kilo crystal, and here was a 96 kilo crystal, and they looked like this, and you saw the quality. In fact, sorry, here is the pocket. It's only 3 meters, 10 feet diameter, 23 meters tall. So morphology of these pockets is completely different from the barrel carrying one. And here are the crystal. Here's one big with the chief geologist in his hand just recovered. And that's the biggest one, and one to the right. And you can see the color. The one to the left, it's still dirty. And here is a cut one, 9,000 carats. So you don't want to wear that on a ring, but it's giant. Not even a necklace. So here is the crystal you can see, and that's a small one. Anyway, most of the topaz, of course, they had fallen down. The whole pegmatite had collapsed, so they were shattered and broken. But they recovered, we recovered quite a few of nice crystals. So here are some cut, barrel, helidor up left, aquamarine green beryl to the right, and the other topaz, or two topaz. And beautiful, all natural color. Look at the bottom left here, the color banded topaz. I think that's marvelous. We even found yellow bands in some. And here is another. Here is a friend who is the photographer, Albert Russ, holding the topaz while I'm photographing him. I think he gives a good impression of the size of that 9,000 carat piece. And here is the spectrum of crystals from VOLODARSK, all natural color, beryls and topaz. So I will take you briefly to Russia. I'll just mention these are traditional Russian gems from Urals and Siberia. So we'll go to Urals first. Here are more gems from Urals. Big quartz. They're still mining some quartz, but there was Pupitsa quartz. Here is a citrine my wife cut to the left from Urals. Orieshnaja, it's a natural citrine deposit. And the old Sanarka topaz on the right from 1850. Now they are still washing gold, but not too much topaz coming. The emerald mines, where they also found Alexandrite for the first time and phenakite, are still working a bit. There's one main mine, Marinsky mine, next to the village of Malkhansk. And here is a 6.5 centimeter Alexandrite. Now here is just interesting what occurs. This piece, when I got it, it was covered a lot. It came from an old collection. And that piece at the bottom there, 8.19 carats, came out from the back side of the piece, specimen. Here is my wife happy on her birthday a few years ago. So, one other aquamarine deposit, Charlevoix. It's a Grayson deposit, it's not a pure pegmatite. Next to it is a pegmatite deposit, Adonchilon. Charlevoix is still working, but the last year's production, everything went to China. The Chinese are very active buying up. And here we come to the last deposit, Russia, is tourmaline. So here is Rossmanite I found in 1995. In fact, 3 years before they were described as Rossmanite. And then the last few years we've seen a great production of rubellite from Malkhansk mountains. And here's a cross-section of the pegmatite with beautiful yellow tourmaline. So Pakistan, land of Inshallah. I'll show you a few pictures from the mountains. So the mines are on these ridges here from 4,500, 5,500 meters. And this is the view from the mines. Mining family. And here I'll just show you the peak here. The best mine is right up here. There's another one here. And when I climbed up there, I had been very, very sick. They gave me water from the Nala, from the local stream, so I was feeling like 100-year-old climbing up. Here is topaz aquamarine from here. This place is only producing one nice pocket every 10 years. And we'll go to another place. The miners there thought I was crazy. I took a 45-minute bath in the ice-cold mountain spring. So there are also other interesting rare minerals that are of gem quality, like veyrinonite, a rare lithium phosphate, first discovered in Finland. Here is garnet inside an aquamarine. And there are alpine clefts with quartz, with actinolite, and many other inclusions. Then we come to Shigar Valley. You can see the mountains and nice aquamarine from there. I suggested, this was about 10, 11 years ago, I suggested to them, why do you climb 2,000 meters and mine for a few weeks high up? Why don't you mine in this cliff? So it's in fact my fault, this mining activity here. I said, you can mine year around here and very easy access, and they started doing so. There are hundreds of tunnels in that cliff now, and with some very nice result. And this is Marcus Budel specimen, incredible, beautiful aquamarine with inclusion. Now, the last stop is Afghanistan. So this is a whirlwind tour. When I first tried to get information about Afghanistan, very difficult. They just said, like this from Paprock. Paprock, it's a whole mountain of pegmatites. And you can see, of course, it is a whole mountain. The region is 5,000 to 6,000 meter high. No Westerner have ever been there. So far, I haven't been to Paprock. I would love to go, but this is the reason why. I have a son and a wife. So, now, here are some gems, some tourmalines from Afghanistan. They're beautiful. Most things, they end up in Peshawar at the mineral market. So here, they're mostly lithium. I don't use some other terms. I use lithium, beryllium-carrying pegmatites. Here are mostly beryl topaz, if we say these. And then, of course, you have even pegmatites in Kashmir on the Indian side, and also you have sapphire deposit on the Pakistani side of Kashmir. For those who don't read mineralogical journals, Mineralogical Record is one, where I a year ago published this article on Afghan pegmatites. So I think it's very important in these meetings that we meet people who are into the geology, mineralogy, and gemology. And for me, it's a bit absurd that gemologists, that they should have to prove the origin. I can tell you that every geologist, mineralogist, like we heard here, I have specimens I collected when I was a child. I know exact origin. I know date when it was collected. And those specimens had no monetary value. And you're talking about a $30 million pink diamond and from Africa. This doesn't make sense to me, because I can tell you that miner who found that, he will remember if it was before the coffee break, if it was sunshine or rain. And so anyway, the last things from Afghanistan, beautiful colored tourmalines. Here is the mountain Paprock again in July. You see the mines here, there are mines up here, and very dangerous ridge. So it's very high altitude, very hard to get to. You have to count between 2 days and 10 days walking into some of these pegmatites. And they produce spectacular range of colors to indigolite with the G. It's a misprint in 1801 with the C. It's indigo blue tourmaline indigolite. It's only English language, they haven't got that yet. So berylonite, it was found in Sweden, so in digolite. Here is berylonite. So there are many pollucite, many rarer species found in gem quality. Here is from the giant Maui pegmatite. The biggest pegmatites are the Maui and Kanakana that are being mined for kunzite. So those two pockets here, one produced 2 tons, other produced 1 ton. Now when you saw this, I saw some US reports sometimes they produced $2 million worth of kunzite, maybe cut, but when I've seen pictures from lots where they're 200 kilos, there are few crystal gem quality, the rest is rubbish mostly. So here is a pocket at Maui. I've received pictures from many friends who are mineral dealers. They go to Afghanistan, Pakistan, Afghan origin. And here is one gentleman, he's in Canada now. He photographed this pocket with some kunzite and morganite, but it's hard to see. Maui pegmatite produced beautiful indigolite also. Here is a mine for kunzite, and the miners are usually very poor. And here is a rare specimen. And one thing when it comes to all these important pieces, I track them down. I track them down to the miner who found it. So for instance, this piece, it comes from Weigall. If you look in geological literature, it's from other places, Paprock or Pesh or something. But so I try to keep track of the most important pieces, where they really came from and their history and so on. But I'm interested in many mines on the globe. I've been to 2,500 mines, so it's a hard night's work, I can tell you. So anyway, when it comes to kunzite, it's very important which vein they came from, if they will be color stable or reasonable color stable or not. These green ones, very strong color, are not. This one will fade very quickly. There are blue ones from another. They will fade quickly. They're purple. They're from one mine that barely produces anything. They are deep purple. They will turn almost ruby red after a lot of sun, exposure. But they're the most stable ones from Weigall, but almost no production. Here is another cut from Viktor Tuslakov, about 700 carats. And I want to thank all collaborators, the GIA, Volyn Kvartsemosvetsi, and of course my family and all of you. So, and don't forget to encourage the young. This is my son. When my wife saw him at age exactly 1 year, starting to collecting, this is Bulgaria to the left, taking specimens from my collection, putting in an empty cupboard. She said it's genetic disease, you know. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Is there any questions for Peter? I don't think we have one.
Doesn't look like it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excellent talk.